Hello Year 4, and we're going to make a Pong game just like I did in the register. Now Pong is one of the first ever computer games, and there's lots of variations on it. We can make it a two-player game, but today we're just going to make a one-player game. So I'm just going to quickly call my project Pong game, and here we go. So we do not need the cat, so we're going to click and remove him. And then we need to create a new sprite. So we're going to go to paint, and here we're going to create the paddle that the ball is going to bounce off. So I click on the rectangle tool. I don't want an outline, so I'm going to click on this button here, and that will let me create a shape without an outline. I choose my colour. Now if you want, there we go, if you make your brightness you can see all the colours properly. Let's go for a green one. I'm happy with that. So I'm going to click and drag. Oh, I know what I've done there. I've changed the outline. So we'll do that again. We don't want an outline. We want a fill. Sorry. There we go. Now we want this rectangle to be quite wide. I think quite thin. Now in the centre it's quite difficult to see. There's a plus symbol. You want that to make sure it matches up with there. It does snap, which means it clicks automatically when it is in the centre, but you want to make sure it is in that centre. So there we've got a paddle. We can see it up here. We can move it around, and then we just need to get one more sprite, and that's the ball. So we're going to paint a new one. This time we're going to do the same again, but we're going to click on the circle and choose a different colour, maybe blue, and I'm just going to draw it like this. Now if you're on a keyboard you can press the shift key and it will make sure that it always stays as a circle. And again the same, make sure it snaps to the centre, and there we have our ball. Now backdrops doesn't really matter about a backdrop, but it does make it look much nicer. So we'll quickly create ourselves well, let's choose a backdrop. So we want one that hasn't got too much stuff on it. I'll go for stars. There we go, happy with that. Okay, so now we're going to make these move. What we want to happen is the ball to bounce when it hits the paddle. So to do that, first of all, we need to click on our paddle and then go to code. Now there is lots of ways of doing this kind of stuff, but what we want to have is events. So when we click the flag, this is going to start the game. Now across the bottom is called the x-axis, and going up is the y-axis. It does say here across the side is x. Now I think that's quite good. Can you see when I move this, it tells us where left and right it is. So it tells us what the position, and the same as the y. So if we're going up, the y will change. Let's just double check. All the way up to the top it's 115. Close to the bottom it's minus 145. I want it to stay around about this location. So I might say, let's go to motion. And we'll say go to, there we go, set y, which is how far up and down it is. We're going to set it to what this is here. Can you see how when I dragged it across it matches that number? So we'll do that. So set y to minus 155. Now we want it to move. So to get it to move we can say, go to control, and we can say forever. Go back to motion. We can say forever, go to mouse pointer. Now on the tablet this works just where your finger is as well. It drags it. Let's just double check that works. Okay, so something's not worked there. Can you see how it's following me around? So let's close that. Now what we do is we debug it. This set y will need to be inside the forever. Okay, so we need to make sure it goes, let's have a look now. Yeah, it's moving everywhere, we don't want that. So we've just got them back to front. So we want to make sure forever, go to the mouse pointer, but set Y to minus 155. There we go. So now when we move, it follows it around too. So that's the paddle ready. The paddle's ready to go. We now need to give some motion to the ball. So here we go. So when we click on the ball, again, we're going to go to the events and when clicked. So we're going to say when clicked, first of all, we want to choose where it's going to start. So just like we did here when we looked at these positions, I think that's a good place for it to start, right at the top. So here we have -3 and 147. If we go to motion, it will have here when clicked, go to, and then it's matched that number for us. So when clicked, go to there. Let's just see if that works. It's always good to test these things. Yep, that's worked. And then we'll say forever. So we want this to do all the time. Let's just have a play around to see what happens. So if I say forever, move 10 steps. Let's see what happens. Okay, so it moves all the way this way, and then it just stops because it's got to the end and nothing happens. So let's try move 10 steps, and then there's a special one here, if on edge bounce. So forever, if on edge bounce, move 10 steps. Let's see what happens now. Okay, so can you see it's going backwards and forwards? It's hitting the edge and it's bouncing. But that's not going to be much of a fun game. So we need to now think about how we can get the ball to position itself to go down towards the paddle. So let's have a look. We can have here, there's a few ways we can do this. We can have, which one should we choose? Turn. Let's go direction. So can you see on this side here, we can set the direction. Can you see it's going left and right? If you drag it down, we can set it to maybe 120. Let's see what happens. There we go. It's coming down. It's bouncing all around. But obviously, when it hits the paddle, it just goes straight through it. So we're going to stop that there. Now we need an instruction for when touching this paddle, bounce off it, so move off it. So let's have a look. Let's go to, click back onto the sprite, the ball sprite. And we're going to have, let's create a new one so it's a bit easier to follow. So again, when this green flag is clicked, now here we're going to have a forever, because we always want it to happen. And then we're going to use one of these if. So forever, if something happens, then do this thing. So let's have a look. So let's go to sensing, that's where we can find all the if commands. So if touching mouse pointer, then do something. If we click on this and have if touching sprite 1, which is the paddle, then we can get it to do something. Let's have a look what we can get it to do. So let's just play around with something for a second. Let's get it to say hello, see if it works. So hopefully, bing, there we go. It says hello because it's touched the paddle. And it'll say that forever because I haven't told it not to say it forever. So let's take off that. We know it works now. So now we need to say, if touching sprite 1, we want it to bounce backwards. So let's go to motion. And then we're going to say, oh, there's the point in direction. Let's say point in direction. So we can get it to point in that direction. So 45 degrees. This is a really great tool that you can just move around. So if we get it to point at 45 degrees, let's see what happens. There we go, the ball bounces straight back. And now that's a really simple game. The boring thing is I bet if I leave my paddle there, I'll take my hand off the mouse, it will probably bounce back and hit because it's going the same angle each time. You see? So we need to change that. We want to make it a bit more random. So what we can do is if we go to operators, this is where we can add some maths into it. So we want to say pick a random between, let's have a think about this. So minus 45 and 45, let's try that. So minus 45 to 45, and then we just drop that in there, like that. So it's saying point and direction either minus 45 or 45. Let's have a look. Okay, can you see it went off at a different angle? Now it's bouncing different sides. It will change each time. Okay, I'm really happy with that. I think that looks really nice. It's bouncing around. Okay, now our next step, and I think the final step for this, the video might be too long. Hold on a second, my cat is eating a box. Kafka, that's quite annoying, buddy. Now our next step is what happens if it misses? What happens if we miss the paddle? Well, to do this, we need to create another sprite. There are different ways. Actually, we won't create a sprite, we'll create it in our backdrop. So we'll click on our backdrop, and we'll go to backdrops up here, and we will edit our backdrop. Now we just need to add a bit of colour that is not blue, not green, and it's not a matching colour for the backdrop. So I'm going to create, an easy one to do is red. So I'm going to create this red colour, and I'm going to draw it right at the very bottom, like that. Maybe move it a little bit smaller so it just looks a bit nicer. Okay, so now we can come back off, click back onto our sprite. We've got the same pieces, but now we've got red at the bottom of our background. So now we can add a bit of code. So we're going to go to code, and we're going to have the same again. So let's drag a new event. So when clicked, same thing. So forever, if, now this time, so you see what I did then, I went really quickly then. So forever, if doing something then. Now we're going to go to sensing. That's where all the if commands are stored. Now this is where you can do all kinds of stuff. So touching colour. So if touching colour. Now what we want to do is you want to click on that colour, and then at the bottom we've got this picture here, the pipette, and click on that. And then you go over to your picture and choose the colour you want. And we want the bottom colour here. Okay, now we're happy with that. So it says if the ball is touching this colour, then do something. So what we will do, very quick way, we will get it to stop everything. So we'll click stop all, and then hopefully the game will just freeze, and we have to click the green flag to start again. So let's press go. When I press go, hopefully the ball will go to the top. Here we go. So we're back into our game, and we're going to miss, and perfect, it has finished. Now we can add sound effects. So if touching the green, or if touching paddle, play a ping sound. If it touches the red sound, you could make a sad sound. There's lots of things you can do. Have a go at making this game. You can pause this video, you can go back to this video, you can ask me questions, and then hopefully you'll be able to produce this game, and then we can add more to it, or you can edit it and improve it later. Okay, let me know if you have any questions. Good luck.